Jervis, you up?
For you, sir, or what?
So, you have different types of influencers, and you need to choose the one that is the most relevant for your brands. You can actually bundle them in 4 types. Number 1, the key opinion leaders, or KOL. These people are trusted experts who are credible, authoritative, and respected in their field.
I am Iron Man.
Usually they test stuff and their followers look at their content in order to educate themselves, to understand their opinion, or to understand how stuff works.
What?
They can be either from the media, like The Verge, or What Hi-Fi in the tech industry, or Stiva, let's say in the FMCG world. Or they can also be creators who are experts in their field. They may not have a large audience, but it's a very targeted one, and they're very credible within that community. So that can be very useful for your brand. Usually you can't really influence what they say about your product or service, because the whole point of them being key opinion leaders is that they look at things objectively.
You serious?
So it could be more risky for you, but frankly, if your product or service delivers, that could be a great option for you. Second bucket, let's call them the power users. So they are people who use your product or services on a regular basis and have a pretty meaningful following. For example, Slash, the Guns N' Roses guitar player. He's been using Gibson guitars for 40 years probably. And coming out of that, Gibson made a lot of money. There is obviously a commercial relationship between Slash and Gibson, but actually it started with Slash deciding by himself that Gibson guitars were giving him the sound that he was looking for. And then Gibson took the opportunity to partner with him because he was becoming very famous, hence the ton of sales afterwards. In this case, you first need to convince him or her that your product or service is right for him or her. And once they're convinced, you can have a commercial discussion about a partnership. But if you don't get them convinced in the first place, there is no point in throwing money at them, that won't go anywhere. And once they're genuinely convinced about your product or service, usually you can influence what they say about your product or service. Apart from if you ask Slash to say that Axl Rose is a very easy person to work with, that may be a bit of a stretch. The third bucket is, let's say, the day-to-day users. So it's usually micro or nano influencers who use your product or service on a regular basis, and you can seed these people, sometimes just seed them the product, sometimes seed them the product and give them a bit of money, but it will never be a lot of money. In this case, those people will likely be happy to use your products because they are using them anyway. So if they can benefit from your visibility as well as you use their content on your brand platforms, that's even better. Now, the last and fourth bucket is, say, the professional influencers. So these are the people who you see on Instagram or all the social media, and they tend to talk about many things and showcase many products or talk about multiple categories of products. Usually, you need to work with these people when your business objective is to drive awareness, not so much consideration or conversion. It's just to make your product or service visible to as many people as possible. Now, there is an exception to that, which is what we see especially in China with social commerce, where you have influencers who present a lot of products for people to buy. They don't go in depth into why they should buy. You just say, I'm big and influential, and you get millions of eyeballs looking at your products. That is quite developed in China, far less in the Western countries, but it's still something that is likely going to develop. So, depending on what your brand needs, whether it's visibility, consideration or education or conversion, you can select the different types of influencers that would be relevant to that strategy. Now, interestingly enough, keep in mind that this can change because your brand evolves. If you start from scratch, you may need to educate first and then drive awareness. If your brand is already well established, then it might be just driving conversion. So it very much depends on where you are in your brand journey. So always try to ask yourself this question as, carefully as possible because it will have big implications on your marketing plans.